All right, hello everyone. Hello, hi. And welcome again to another regularly scheduled edition of the BINALOT Talks. Although most of you, very familiar faces, since we are recording, just so that we have a little nice intro at the beginning. The BINALOT Talks are a weekly... Yes, there's a very fancy... Thank you. Yes, the BINALOT Talks are a regularly scheduled lecture, seminar, discussion series held by the School of Archaeology here at UP, so that we could have speakers from various backgrounds, various different disciplines, talk about their research interests and whatever comes to their mind. They come here so that we can have a discussion amongst our faculty, amongst the students and our social circles. But it tends to be a very engaging and lively discussion. So I hope that we do continue today with today's very interesting topic about Tausug resistance and the Indigenous perspective. Our speaker for today is Sir Kamarrudin Mohammad, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And he's from the Institute of Islamic Studies. But before I begin, do we have any announcements to make? Or no, I think we're good. So let me introduce formally our speaker. So, Kamarrudin bin Alawi Mohammad is currently a PhD candidate in Philippine Studies at the Tri-College here in UP Diliman. He's a university researcher too at the UP Institute of Islamic Studies, and also an anchor/producer of Salam Radio at the Institute of Islamic Studies it's their official radio program. He's worked as a research assistant for both international and local projects, so he has a lot of research background, and he's a member of the Research Association for Islamic and Social Sciences and the Zamboanga Peninsular Higher Education Association. And he's presented many papers on Islamic studies, media studies, indigenous studies, Muslim Filipino history, and interfaith dialogue between local and abroad communities, wherein he's published articles in journals both in Filipino and English. So without further ado, our speaker for today, Mohammad.
Thank you for that presentation. I'd like to give a background on this study. Actually, it's the core idea of my dissertation, in my Philippine Studies dissertation. And I was discussing with my advisor as to what part of Muslim Filipino history should I focus. Then we found out that we really don't have this kind of an explanation on how to look at the Philippine Muslim history through the indigenous perspective. We don't have that. We're trapped in the four corners of the room talking about jihad. So I'm thinking maybe we can go beyond the jihad kind of perspective. So this is actually my journey into this paper. And as a background, also part of the background, I would like to mention here again the abstract. In teaching the history of Muslims in the Philippines, in the field of Sulu history in particular, sources from Western scholars were the first to be recognized. I'm referring to sources from the Spaniards and the British. And one may conclude that most sources, if not, are marred with personal agendas, and it is highly recommended to be critical in reading them. As time goes by, counter-discoursing, such sources become a trend on their own. However, despite the effort to be more critical in reading Sulu history, especially with the issue on resistance, one may observe that most esteemed scholars in the field were not able to delve more into the realm of the indigenous or the pre-Islamic discourse. The latter, as understood by the researcher, may provide a more realistic discourse in understanding Tausug resistance. This is the gap that the researchers attempted to fill in. In fact, we do not deny the fact that all are actually indigenous people. Before they become Muslim, before they become Christian, they were indigenous peoples. So this is the very core of the idea of looking into the indigenous perspective in explaining the Tausug resistance. Because my keywords, Tausug resistance, Sulu history, indigenous concept, counter-discourse, and the recent study, the colonial studies. These are the very prominent theories on Sulu history, actually, the Keros Piraticus and the Decade Empire theory, which basically talks about piracy. Of course, the Keros Piraticus has something to do with the issue on the extension of Reconquista, which was actually happened before in the Iberian Peninsula, which was Andalusia. The authors were very prominent here, is Vicente Barrantes, Jose Montero Vidal. And they're talking about piracy that distracts trading, tribute collection, territory expansion, and Christianization, of course. In the Decade Empire theory, which is actually by the British, Sir Stamford Raffles, Nicholas Starling, and the likes, they talk about coastal policies that like living in razor's edge, like they call it, in Tagalog, we call it kapit sa patalim. They're willing to risk for survival, so they go into piracy. The way of living were distracted by this Europeans' monopolistic trading or trade. These are some of the theories that actually come from Filipinos, and some are actually not Filipinos, but where we came here to the Philippines to talk or to do research on Muslim Filipinos, like Najib Salibi, which is a Christian Arab. He has this theory on moral problem, talks about national integration and the problem of creating effective strategy, how to integrate Muslims in the mainstream society during those times. The main key words here are like democracy, education, assimilation. Moral wars talks about jihad. This is the most popular theory when we talk about Muslim history in the Philippines. Of course, it's very familiar definition like resistance against imperialism, colonialism, Christianization, and has to do with defending land, liberty, and religion. He's a Muslim. At this later part of his life, he converted. He's an Arab, Syrian, I think. And his mother's from Cagayan, a Filipina. Dr. Cesar Mahul, the first dean of the Institute of Islamic Studies. Sulu Zone by James Warren, an Australian. Of course, it talks about slave here as commodity and labor force, and a slavery-driven economy and polity. A response to expanding maritime trading among European, Chinese, and fellow Southeast Asian. Islamic Far East, he's one of our alumni actually. He's a Spanish, he's Aclinoso. He's in Spain now. It talks about the genesis of Philippine Islam, how it evolved through time, and it integrates the Islamization from the north, south, west, and east into one worldwide phenomenon, which is talking here like the word is really distinct for Islamization. Some Muslim scholars, one is Dr. Samuel Tan. He talks about ancient liberty, the claim to lost ancient liberty, that we are, as people, we have a strong attachment to land of birth and existence. So we have these terms here, Bangsamoro, homeland, pag-ibig sa tinubuang bayan, yuta kabilin, lupang ninuno. So that's how he explained it. And the two nations, separate historical development from Dr. Abraham Sakili from the Cal Department. He's also Tausug, but he's a Muslim. Unlike Dr. Samuel Tan, a Tausug, but he's Christian, Protestant in particular. He says that historical development of Muslim Filipino history is actually different from the mainstream. But the mainstream is Western European line. Through Western European line, the Muslim Filipino history is actually the Islamic Malay line. And although they have barangay kind of concept, but it does not have ideology for national unity. Pagtuhan is actually a new book, a living concept among the Tausug, but it's a newly published book in the UP Press. You can avail. It talks about Pagtuhan, and actually basically the essence of Tausug culture and society has to do with the source of Tausug knowledge, reason for bravery, and hope for the future. It is basically about Tausug spirituality, philosophy, psychology, fused in one, as typically the ideal way of life of a Tausug. That's how they look at it. Yeah. Ideal way of life of a Tausug. And this is what I'm trying to share as part of the theories that explains the Muslim Filipino history in the Philippines. Pangayaw. So what is Pangayaw? It has many different nomenclature or related nomenclatures, that is Pangayaw, Pagpangayaw, Pangayam, and so on and so forth. The Ngayaw of the north actually is also part of the Pangayaw phenomenon, the head hunting. And this is actually connected to the root word ngayaw, which is headhunting, and kayaw, capture, and a Australian form of warfare, a combination of war, trade, and slavery. According to Dr. Villan, Vicente Villan of the CSSP department, it has to do with kaloobang bayan, shared essential concept of survival, comfort, and honor. And the people who engages in pangayaw are actually referred to as local heroes. There are Bagani, and we call it, the Tausug call it Balani. That's where the word Batu Balani came from. So Balani is for local hero in Tausug term. And note that any other practice, pangayaw is also vulnerable to misuse and abuse through time. See, the one with white is actually no abuses in there, as far as I know. But the yellow one with a small font is vulnerable, misuse, right? Tendency to be misused or to be abused. And then the bigger one, the bold one, is the misuse and the abuse. See how it evolved through time? Yeah, from resistance, the battle of the sea, maritime trading, barter trading, and self-determination of the Muslims in the south. See? That's how it is. It evolves. And some of them remain until now as the trajectories of the pangayaw concept. Pangayaw Tausug has to do with, of course, the same, war, trade, and slavery, which is usually expressed through raiding. Through raiding. Basically, a counterpart of the state-initiated European privateering, the commerce, raiding, and Spanish entrada, we call it incursion. And it's sea battle. The manifestations are actually sea battle, maritime trading, resistance, retaliation, mercenary hiring, military strategy, slave taking, kidnap for love, and then cattle rustling, the leader's spoil act. Pangayaw Tausug, I focus my study on Pangayaw Tausug as pagbogbog, which is resistance, protection, and defense. It has three concepts. The jihad al-asghar in particular. In the school of thought of the Shafi'i, we have four schools of thought in Islam, with Shafi'i, Hanbali, Shafi'i, Hanafi, Maliki. Mostly in South Asia, we refer to Shafi'i school of thought. But in Shafi'i school of thought, we don't just say jihad. We have a specific term for that, jihad al-asghar, meaning smaller jihad. Jihad is a battle or warfare. The bigger jihad is inner battle of the self. So there are three concepts: jihad al-asghar, which is basically Islamic, pusaka, indik, miyamatay sin banwa, Austronation. Pangayaw Tausug as pagbogbog. See, this one is a writing in during the Sulu siege in the 1970s, written by one of the MNLF combatant before he died. He wrote there with his own blood, writing it says here, in kami parang sabil, nagbogbog sinhula bang sa iwan agama. It typically means we are parang sabil, defending homeland, race, people, which typically refers to liberty and religion. The term pangayaw became archaic, while in the discourse of resistance became dominant in Sulu studies, in particular, in Muslim Filipino historiography in general. And then these are the three concepts: jihad al-asghar, pusaka, miyamatay sin banwa. Islamic, pre-Islamic. Jihad al-asghar is actually armed struggle, the protection of life, liberty, religion, family, property, and intellect. And the pusaka talks about the protection of tangible and intangible heritage. And the miyamatay sin banwa will talk about the will to survive, defend, preserve, and extend life, to gain comfort, and to attain dignity, honor, and prestige. Fardu kifaya is a sacred right and communal obligation of the Muslim community. And also, puspa iwan piyagikutan sin kamaasan is a sacred and at the same time entrusted with the ancestors. And it's piyagsawsawhan, dirihilan bugat paghakai, a collective or shared basic priorities of the community. Trajectories and evolution of Pangayaw Tausug. In the past, Pangayaw Tausug is very popular as raiding. Right? Basically, some of these manifestations besides raiding, it's very obvious: slave taking, raiding and trading, all of these things here, mercenary hiring, and so on and so forth. And then, as a trajectory, in the present, the Pangayaw Tausug has become popular in the field of, as form of resistance. Form of resistance. So, but other manifestations includes kidnapping, kidnap for love, So barter trading, and of course the opposite is smuggling. Defiance is a form of defiance against the government. Retaliation, which is also part also of the indigenous people's concept of the right to retaliation, to retaliate. The banta or the ridu is part of Pangayaw trajectories. Self-determination, of course. Human trafficking, migration, diaspora, and the halaw phenomenon. I don't know if some of you here know about the halaw phenomenon. Like when you go to Sabah, you don't have papers. They will they will incarcerate you, and then later on, you'll be deported to the Philippines. And then you are referred to as halaw. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, illegal entry to Malaysia. So that's the halaw phenomenon. And then, of course, also part of political dynasty. And the OFW phenomenon is also part of the trajectories of Pangayaw Tausug. And my focus, evolution as resistance. It has also different nomenclatures through time. It evolved from the prototype of resistance, protection, and defense, which is Pagbogbog, ancestors, or the Sultanate of Sulu. And then it turned into Parang Sabil through time, became Parang Sabil. It came from the word Basasug parang, which is to fight with bladed weapon, and the Arabic Sabil, which means martyr. These are patches of resistance, actually. And those who engage in this Parang Sabil are the Panglima, leaders of the Tausug in the past, the Datu, Karatuan, and the subjects of the Sultanate, which means to resist, to protect or defend. And later on, it became Pagluwas Lungsad, which is typically used by promulgated by the Moro National Liberation Front, mostly Tausug and Sama leaders. Came from the word luwas, out, and the Bahasa Sug Lungsad means to root out. So basically, it's a Bangsamoro self-determination. And then later on, as exposed by the Abu Sayyaf group, they use the word pag-jihad. So basically, jihad is Arabic term for struggle, and the specific term for armed struggle is jihad al-asgar, and it's a continuous quest for self-determination. And notice that the three concepts from Pagbogbog as the prototype of resistance to Parang Sabil and then to Pagluwas Lungsad, the underlying factor, underlying idea is that it is for defending homeland, people, race, liberty, and religion. In Tausug, we call it, we refer to it as Pagbogbog Sinhula. Bangsa, even Agama. Notice that the word Bangsa and Agama is Indic, still Indic, right? Bangsa is Bamsa. Agama is also Indic or Sanskrit term. So that's how deep the Indic consciousness among the Tausug. And then here in Pag-Jihad, it changed. It became Pagbogbog Sin Quran, even Hadith, which means defending the Quran and traditions of the Prophet Muhammad. It became more like leaning towards religious kind of agenda from being cultural, ethno-cultural kind of thing. Like, see that? Here, religion is just part of the idea of defense or pagbogbog, but here they give it an emphasis. They emphasize the religion part. So that's how the evolution and the trajectories of Pangayaw Tausug, it is through time. And I'd like to, in my last slide, I'd like to highlight the importance of Pangayaw Tausug in Muslim Filipino history and Sulu studies in particular, Sulu history in particular. Like here, we see ancient liberty here from Samuel Tan. It's just part of the two concepts of Pusaka and Miyamatay in Banwa. Just part. And then another one concept here, the jihad, which is the triad concept that I mentioned earlier, which has to do with pagbogbog or the resistance, or pangayaw as a form of pagbogbog or resistance. And here, the concept from Warren, slavery-driven economy and polity, it's just part of Pangayaw Tausug actually as a whole. Maliliit na parte lang sila. Just how huge the Pangayaw Tausug is as a concept. And here also, I'd like also to give emphasis here that native perspective actually in Tausug we call it Pangayaw, right? And then those who engage in Pangayaw are referred to as Mangayaw. We have to elongate the word Mangayaw, not Mangayaw. mangayaw. Those who are engaged in pangayaw practice. And we refer to it as the local heroes, the Balani or the Bagani. But in European perspective, basically the very near, the very close concept here is privateering or the privateers. And then if you don't have letter of mark, license to operate, your practice would be, or your engagement would be piracy, and therefore you're referred to as pirate. That's why the Tausug or the other Southeast Asian people who engages in pangayaw were referred to as pirate because they don't have license to operate from the king and from the queen. See that how it started from there. And then to give some kind of like a connection to the Islamic world, the Arab world in particular. In the Arab world, Arabs Ghazwa or Razia, desert raiding, and then the Pangayaw, which is actually the practice of the Tausug and the rest of the Southeast Asian people in the Philippines and in Southeast Asia, which is sea raiding or the coastal raiding.
Yes, thank you for that really interesting presentation. So now I think we'll open the floor to questions, if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask our speaker for today.
How do you want to be called? What's your nickname?
Kamar.
Kamar. This is too long. Then we don't know what to choose. Kamar.
Yeah.
My question is just about, you said that there was a part of it that has to do with the pre-Islamic.
Yeah.
So I was wondering what exactly that is and how it's defined. Is it defined through linguistic reconstructions, or because in terms of history or something is very hard, and archaeology also, so it's like what is that, or is it just legend? Do you know what I mean? So what's the pre-Islamic component?
Actually, I did ethnography. I went to the place, Sulu, Basilan, Zamboanga area. Do ethnography, and I talked to the people, specifically those who are. They still use the word pangayaw, and I also consulted the dictionary, the recent dictionary of Tausug dictionary. We have this from Dr. Benjamin Bangahan, the very recent Tausug dictionary. He included the word pangayaw there in the terminologies. And yeah, I agree. I use linguistic, actually, anthropological linguistic to really give emphasis on this particular practice, and the lived anecdotes of the people, and that is part of the pangayaw phenomenon.
Sort of asking it a little, how would you say that that's pre-Islamic? How could you say that that's not post-Islamic?
Yeah, it's the practice of the indigenous people, actually. Before the Tausug become Muslims, they were indigenous people. And as part of the practice, pangayaw is actually part of the practice.
And that's based on the linguistic history?
Yeah, I use linguistic to...
Like historical linguistics?
Yeah. Also, I did interviews with people, and they say that pangayaw is not actually an Islamic concept. It's really an indigenous concept.
So it's an oral history?
Yeah.
But if you ask a young people now, do they know what it means?
Most of them do not know. Yeah, they do not.
And even the Abu Sayyaf.
Yeah, even the Abu Sayyaf, they do not know that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I was curious about the word Panglima. Because,
Panglima, yeah.
yes,
It's a leader. It's a Tausug leader, actually.
because I've been working among Palawan indigenous people, and they're also using the word Panglima.
In the Malay world. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Palawan.
Palawan also, yeah.
Yes, and so it comes from a Muslim organization of the society, does it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Panglima is actually one of the name for leaders in the Tausug society. And knowing that Palawan used to be part of the Sulu Sultanate, actually. That's why we refer to it as Minsupala. Minsupala means Mindanao, Sulu, and Palawan. It's part of the Sulu Sultanate, actually. So basically, those words, you could really find it there to mean the leaders of the community, Panglima.
Yeah, we're now on the microphone.
For course, si yung anak ni Professor Bangahan andito.
Professor?
Bangahan si yung one.
Doc Bench, talaga?
Si Pai Bangahan.
Hi, ma'am. Nice meeting you.
Okay. I have two questions. First, when you said that don't go to the shore, the Moros are there. Who are you referring to?
I'm referring to the Spaniards and the
The
Indios
Spaniards?
and the Indio. I'm using the word Indio, which means that those who are non-Muslims in the past that are under the Spaniards' colonial government.
So you refer to them as Moros?
No, they use that as an anecdote
Okay.
to give caution to children.
Even in the Tausug country.
No, among the Tausug, we also similar terms. We also use similar anecdotes, but we're not referring to the Moros. We're referring to the Iranuns.
The Irano.
The
Yeah,
Irano.
yeah. Because the Iranuns are actually
So when you go to the north naman, don't go to the shore
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the
yeah.
Moros will come.
Yeah, the north. But in the,
Is in the Irano.
yeah, but among the Tausug, we're referring to the Iranuns.
Okay. And then second, because you said panglima was the name of the social position,
Yeah, yeah.
the leader. So why is it panglima? I mean, linguistically, that's the fifth.
Lima, yeah, well, five.
Lima. Is it related to that?
I'm not sure if it's related, but I wasn't able to look into that term actually. But and it's very interesting to know that. No? It just tickles my mind.
I've been trying to understand that too. But
Yeah. I'll try to research on that deeper. But basically, it's the hierarchy of the leadership among the people. They call it panglima, and it is also being used in the Malay world. I mean, in Indonesia, in Malaysia, the word panglima is also being used there.
it's a position.
Position, yeah.
But why? What's the etymology?
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
the
a
problem.
question. Kamarrudin, this is very interesting, and like you said, it's a key concept for your dissertation. But may I ask, is your dissertation about Tausug, contemporary Tausug society, or is it a history of Tausug society or culture?
It's a history in a sense, but I'm trying to connect it present. Yeah, the resistance.
So, but more,
Yeah.
you want to dwell or really
Yeah.
go deep and try to understand its
Yes,
roots,
yes.
no?
Like I want the reader to understand
Yes.
that these phenomena, the present phenomena, are not actually present or in a sense that they become Muslim and then they have this kind of concept. It's actually before they become Muslims, they have this concept already. Like part.
I like your presentation. It's very clear what you're trying to do and your ideas and your review of literature. I think you hit on all the major writers already who contributed from Sali Salibi down to your classmates, your contemporaries.
Yeah.
But may I say that perhaps you have to be cautious to just take Tausug history culture as if it's in a bubble, knowing very well that you exist. Chik to Jol with the Maranaos,
Yes,
the
yes.
Iranon, the Balangigi, and all the other the Sobanons, and all the other ethno-linguistic groups around, who all of us don't know where exactly
Yes.
they started.
Yes.
Just like the Tausug, we don't know, because that's an interesting question of Helen. If we acknowledge that there is a pre-Islamic root of the core of Tausug culture now, and I think that's your argument,
Yes.
then what is that, where does it now take Tausug culture? When, of course, you will then have to engage people who will not decouple the culture from the religion. When, in fact, as you now learn from your studies, the culture is deeper, wider, older than the religions that it embraces now. No?
Yes.
So that's one point. I think it's a point to ponder. No? The other one is, and I like most of this is a good one for me because it is not directional. I understand your ngayon diagram that's directional, but I think at the end of this work, when you write it, you will demonstrate that culture is perhaps not directionally pushed into one direction or a predetermined direction, and that's what you are actually showing, no? That none of those people from Silibi to you are wrong, but you're underscoring certain elements of the same culture.
Yes.
So it's just a cautionary point.
See, I get your point, right?
And just last one footnote, in Bisaya, ngayaw, pangayaw is fishing.
Part also fishing.
Chim Sayas has a big article on that
Yeah.
in Vimas 2.
Actually, I include it in one of my definitions there, fishing. Tausug. You mean the terminology itself? Yeah. I have this manuscript, but I did not publish it yet. I deal with the word Tausug. The title is "What's in the Name?" Tausug. I did not publish it yet. It's a manuscript actually. I deal with like 8 theories that explain the word Tausug.
Is that tao?
One theory is that it is a word. It came from the word tao plus the sug, which means tao, people, and sug, current. That's the very prominent one. People of the current. Then other theory also says that it came from the word tao plus suk. Suk, not sug. Sometimes the word, especially among the Sama, instead of saying sug, they would refer to it as suk. Yeah. Yes, yeah. So it will change the meaning, the etymology of the word. Instead of people of the current, it become people of the market. People of the market.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, big difference. Because the word souk, it came from the Arabic word market. Yeah, trading pa rin, trading pa rin. So it makes sense. Makes sense. Another theory says about tausug, it came from the word tao and maisug. It's a bit far, but it makes sense. Tausug are brave. Tausug means tao means tausug, and maisug means brave. So tao maisug, tausug. So another theory is that's another theory, and I forgot the rest. But I like in my paper, in that manuscript, I mentioned like eight theories on the word Tausug. Yeah, I hope could publish it later on. Yeah.
Hello, sir. You have mentioned also the Rido in one of your slides. I thought it only happens in Maranao communities. So
Which one? First?
The Rido.
Rido.
What are the things that? How can you distinguish? I mean, what are the in what major aspects you can differentiate Maranaos from Tausugs?
Okay.
Because some people are confused.
Yeah. Basically, the term used among the Tausug society, among the Tausug people we don't use the word Rido, we use the word Banta. Banta, which has to do with the word banta of the Tagalog, like babantaan kita, like threat, because it's also part of the process of having enemies is threat, right? So banta, we call it banta. The Maranao side, I mean, people of the mainland, Maguindanao, Maranao, and the rest, they use the word rido, but among us, we use the word banta. There's no difference actually. The same, parehas pa rin yung. The concept is the same, the practice is the same. Like pati yung mga pusa, they would kill. Walang matira sa bahay, pati pusa, patay. So, I mean, in English, if they come to your place and they are your banta, even your cats will die.
It's a revenge.
Yeah, it's a revenge, part of the revenge. And mostly, the reason why that banta exists is usually babae, women, like kidnap for love kind of thing. Yeah. And cattle rustling, pagnanakaw ng mga baka and so on and so forth, mga cattle. That's the usual reason, the usual cause of banta or rido in our place. Babae, like properties, and position. Recently, yung position, politics. Yeah. Starts banta. Politics would start banta. Would trigger banta. Or the rido kind.
I have one more question, sorry.
Yeah.
Do you know, I'm familiar with the popular fiesta song in the provinces called the Dayang? Yeah.
Dayang.
Yeah,
dance.
Some theories says that it is a song about a Tausug princess, or somewhere from Sulu or Tawi-Tawi. Is it really did anyone do already a research on the origin of that song? Or
Parang wala pa. There's no research on that yet. But the word itself, dayang, means princess,
okay.
which is also Tagalog. Like, sometimes we double the word dayang, which actually also princess, but it's endearment also as a form of endearment. Dayang, form of endearment. Besides, used as the name for the princess, it's also a form of endearment. Like I can call my wife Dayang, form of endearment. Like my little sister or my daughter. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Kamar, you did a review of literature.
Yes.
But it is more on Islam in the Philippines, Islam Muslim in the Philippines. What has anyone done anything on Tausug? A deeper study on Tausug prior to this study that you're doing?
Pagtuhan.
Pagtuhan.
Yeah, it's just available. The book is available in the UP.
Yes, the one that you. So that's
Doctor.
That's specific to Tausug.
Yeah, but spirituality and it focuses on spirituality. I
Oh,
think.
no, you showed it earlier,
Yes.
but I didn't realize it was
Yes.
specific to Tausug.
And also, you can find there about psychology of the Tausug in that
So
book.
how are you going to make your work different from that?
I'm going to the core, like the loob concept. We have the concept of pangatayan. The Tausug, the equivalence of the word loob or the buot of the Visayan and the gahom ba yun? Gahom or yeah.
I have another comment. Come on.
Yes, sir.
And I know you will agree, no?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because you want a inclusive, holistic, deeper understanding of Tausug culture.
Yeah.
But all our references are very masculine, right? How you must find a way to give a voice to the other half of the population, historically, and in contemporary culture. Right? So that is a challenge for you.
Yeah. Some of my respondents are actually women. Not all.
Yeah,
men.
that's all very well that
Yes.
you have female respondents.
Female respondents. Yeah.
But a female respondent doesn't mean that that respondent will articulate a different kind of angle or view of Tausug culture. I think it has to come from you to tease it out. You know?
There are informations which is actually not shared with me by the male respondents that is actually only found among the women respondents.
Do you read Scott, Everyday Form of Struggle, the series of books on?
Not yet, I think. Scott.
I think it
William,
might help you.
William Henry Scott.
No. James Scott.
James Scott.
Very interesting point. But maybe if you can pinpoint those everyday forms of expression struggles, that could be a way.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
To articulate that.
I will.
So he has a couple of books that are still kicking around. His latest work is too big already. It's a regional study, but that everyday form of struggle was mainly based on Philippine culture.
That's nice. Nice to know that. But it's hard to find.
Weapons of the Week, and we still have a copy. I think it's Ateneo Press, right? Or so.
Yeah, I'll look for this. Recorded
If you go
naman
to
di ba?
the University Hotel in
Yeah.
the bookshop, there's a copy there. I think it's still there.
We again would like to thank Kamar
Yeah, thank you.
for his very lovely talk, and thank you all for the lovely discussion.